We're going. I know we're live. So last year on Ash Wednesday, I go to see my mother, and she's got the ashes, and I said, "Did you mention to anybody that you're not Catholic?" And I didn't know this. The guy that runs the assisted living said, "You know how you have to be a certain age and go to the training and all that to get to do communion to start with?
Right.
Before that, right. There's also an age maximum. Once you're over a certain age, it's a free for all. You can they don't grill you about your whether you've had the training or not. You're good. So they didn't care. I didn't know. Do other Christians besides Catholics do that?
Christians do. Lutherans, Presbyterians, Episcopalians that I know
Oh,
of, maybe
oh,
Methodists, I don't know. But
oh. See, I thought it was just Catholics. See, I don't know. I have no idea. Well, that's awesome.
yeah.
Well,
So,
hey, there's Teresa Staples. Hey, Teresa. Yeah, that's awesome. No, I
hi,
had no
Teresa.
idea.
Hi back at you. Thanks for having your name on StreamYard.
And there's Debbie Britt. Yay,
Debbie
we were just
Britt.
talking about you, Debbie. So that's why I didn't know. And I thought there was because I was aware of the requirements for doing other stuff. I figured there were some requirements, but the guy said once you hit 85, pretty much
Well, and the other thing
it's a
is,
free for all.
yeah, the other thing is, it's all about from ashes to ashes, dust to dust. When you're living in the home and you're 85, you're closer to being dust to dust, right?
Ooh,
Well,
Shazam!
I'm
That's
just
not good.
saying.
I'm saying Shazam because my kids said you can't say that. It's not cool. So now I'm going to say it twice as much. There's June O'Donnell. Hey, June. Hey, and there's
Oh,
Easter Day.
good.
He's
Scott
back.
Easter Day. He got back early enough. He wasn't sure he could be here on time because he was going to be an hour away. I am
Oh,
not seeing,
that's awesome. You're not seeing the comments?
not in my Facebook. Let me go to the other one.
Oh,
Anyway, I see the comments up here.
you might have to refresh or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's what I'm trying
I
to
don't
do.
know. So
Anyway, it's all
now,
good.
well, yeah, what we want to talk about now, Jeff had other commitment, and that's going to happen more often probably because not only does he have more, like today, I attended a class he taught, the 2 to 3 with Don King on, oh, okay, Methodists go through confirmation in middle school, but once you're 18 or maybe just past confirmation age, you just say a statement of faith when you join the church. We see, oh, I didn't know that either.
And
Thank
who
you.
said that? Oh, that's Debbie Britt again. Okay.
Oh, okay, awesome. I didn't know that.
Thank you,
So
Debbie Britt. Well,
I
it goes back to that reel we made in Denver about the public service announcement before Ash Wednesday about what happens in church that gets you your own pew.
yeah, that was pretty funny. And
Anyway,
yeah, if y'all missed it, I'm trying to do more with reels on Facebook. And plus, I don't know if you all knew this, but you can sign up to earn money from Facebook, from Facebook itself, and they base it on how much, I don't know, exposure or interaction or whatever you following you have. And so I'm building that up because I always like to earn money. And so I'm always looking for a way for a reel. And one of my uplines and one of my side gigs said not to do anything but live videos. I haven't been doing that. I've been doing like pictures and stuff. But then we were sitting at lunch in Denver, and you told Scott a funny joke. Oh, Scott said, for real.
well, Scott made a comment that made me think of the joke I've known since I was in middle school. And
Oh, go ahead
I,
and tell
I
it.
said it, and both you and Scott laughed hysterically. And then you said, wait, that could be a reel. Can you say it again with a straight face? And so I'm trying to say it with a straight face. Do you know what happens? And
Oh, no,
you're
go ahead and say
laughing
it. Go ahead,
hysterically.
because everybody didn't see it. Say it. Go
I
ahead.
think you should put the link in the chat so they can go watch it and up your reel ranking.
Well, somebody watching will have to do it. Scott, can
Okay.
you go?
Well,
Because
I'll say it again.
we can't do it. You can do it on Facebook, but in the StreamYard thing, we can't say anything in the chat.
Okay, I'll put it in before we end. But anyway, Denver was a lot of fun. We did some networking, didn't we?
Yes. So anyway, there's two reels of Peg, in case you're wondering. Go on my Facebook wall and you can see both of them under reels. One of them is Peg
One of
telling
them
a
I'm
joke.
going like this, do you know? And the other one I'm going like this.
Yeah, and right, because I'm putting a lot of stuff out there. Hey, Janet's on. Yay, from Ireland. Yay. And someone said, hello, sunshines. We're
I'm looking to
sunshines
see
today.
who that is.
I've got a crazy hair today, by the way, because I just came from the hairdresser, which I love
You
the
look
blue, but it looks
marvelous.
flat. It looks flat when I'm. So make sure we say hi to Yonkers. He joined us. Hey.
Hey,
Hey,
Yonkers.
Hey, Ty. Oh, I
Mr.
mean,
Man.
Yonkers, Mr. Yonkers. Yay.
Mr. Yonkers.
Good to see you. So, okay, yeah, we're talking about networking. The reason I want to talk
So
about
Jessica
networking.
Marwick is the person that said hello, sunshines.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good to see you, Jessica.
So the reason you wanted
To have you on.
Oh.
When I knew Jeff wasn't going to be on, is because if you've read the Go Giver book by John David Mann and Bob Berg, there's a character in the book that's called the Go Giver Success Alliance. We're Go Givers, Team Go Giver. There's a character in the book called the Connector, and Peg is the connector. Well, you are.
Thank you.
You are the connector. I mean, it's something I think, I don't know about everybody in the group, but I strive to be the connector. When I read the book, that's the one I wanted to be, was the connector. And you do it so well, though. I got an education every time I travel with you.
Oh.
And you do it so effortlessly. I did want to quote something from the book that I read you ahead. The reason this is important, because everybody doesn't understand the reason it's important. Many people are like thinking that sales is about ABC, always be closing. That is not it anymore. It may have been at one point, but not anymore. It's not about closing. It's not about, it used to be about make sure that you just grab anybody that comes within a foot of you and tell them about your business, blah, blah. Not anymore. Those things don't make you sales anymore. What makes you sales is having genuine connections with genuine people and networking and you bringing value to them too. So that's what does it anymore, in my opinion, and that's what the Go Giver is based on. Now, the quote says, no matter what you think you're selling, what you're really offering is you. And I had a call this week. Matter of fact, I get calls like this every day. But somebody was saying she was mad because the main line that she sells, she found out the company is also selling on Amazon. And I said, you know what? It won't matter because, and it was an Avon rep. And I said, if all they really cared about was getting a face cream cheap or fast, they wouldn't be buying from you to start with. They're buying from you for you. So it's your personality and your writing thank you in red on their ticket and taping a little midget Tootsie Roll on it. It's your service. It's you being nice on the phone. It's you remembering them. It's you remembering their dog's name and bringing a biscuit when you deliver. It's the little touches that connects you with the customer that makes all the difference in the world now. And Bob's calls it selling a commodity. And most of the direct sales companies, that people are going to argue with me about this, but it's a commodity. I mean, I'm sure our face cream is fabulous, and I'm sure all of our stuff is really great and unique, and I'm sure all the other companies have great, unique stuff too. But the reality is they probably could go down to Rite Aid and get something similar. They're not doing that. They're waiting and they're buying from you because of you.
Right.
So that's what makes what you do 50 times more important. Go ahead.
Well, it's the value that you bring to the client and the value you make them feel when they work with you. Just like you said, taping the Tootsie Roll to the invoice or the receipt, sending cards, doing all those little touches that make them, and even if it's not a commodity or a product, even if you're selling a service, the value you add to that and how you make the customer feel is so important. So I left corporate America in 2007, and the Go Giver probably was written or being written. It hadn't been published yet. And so I was already a connector of sorts way back then. I certainly learned a lot through the Go Giver series and Endless Referrals, which was out before the Go Giver series was published. That is just a wealth of how to do business in a way that makes others feel warm and welcome, and ways to remember you above the competition. What you want is for people to, what you want is for people to know who you are and what you do before they ever need what it is that you do. And you want them to remember you in such a way that when they need it, or somebody they know says, oh my gosh, I need this, they immediately say your name. It's on the tip of their tongue. And, I always like to say we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth. And if you use them in proportion, listen twice as much as you're talking, then the other person's talking and they're feeling valued. Another Bob Berg quote I love to say, and I might have said this the last time I was co-host here, but it bears repeating. No one ever hung up the phone or walked away from you in person if they were talking.
Right. That is true. So I think people are afraid to go to networking events because they believe it's blasting out your business card or getting as many cards in as many hands as possible. And when I was telling people, when I go to Denver, I'm going to be very happy if I had a genuine connection with between 5 and 10 people. I would be very happy. And that is what happened. Between 5 and 10 people, I got their card, but I actually talked to them. I know what they do for business. I'm in a position I can refer them business. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Well, and last year, it didn't happen this year because I was with you every step of the way, just about. But in the airport a year ago, somebody saw you, you didn't know them. And they said, oh my gosh, it's the lady with the blue hair. You're the lady with the blue hair,
That's
right?
Close. That's close. What she said, and I didn't have any name badge or anything.
No wristbands or anything?
I didn't have anything. It was like 2 a.m. I arrived in Denver. It was Denver too. And I was going in the airport and a lady came running over and she said, aren't you the Avon lady with the blue hair? And I
Even
said,
better.
Even yes, better. That is me. I'm sure there's other Avon ladies in the world with blue hair, but yes, that is me. And it was actually kind of like a big giant ego boost because she dragged her husband over. We had pictures and she had me sign her thing and everything. It was awesome. But that's actually I consider that a marketing win.
Yeah, she has read your book.
Person can find me at the airport.
Book, knew about your book, saw you, put 2 and 2 together. So let's do a couple more shout outs. Jean Porter is here. Scott Easterday said he got a referral today from knowing a bartender over the last 23 years. I don't know if that's because you've been his customer for 23 years or you're his supplier over 23 years.
He has accounts that
I know he does. I'm being funny. It will turn into a big account. Good for you, Scott. Marion Penny Upgrade says hello, Lisa and Peg. Jean Porter, let's see, and Debbie Britt. And so I think we're caught up.
Okay. So when we were networking at that event, though, I think what got me about what you do that I need to work on for myself personally is I can see you doing it. I almost can smell the smoke from your going. I'm like, oh, I can see what you're doing. But
smoke?
But when you're talking to someone, I can see you flipping the Rolodex in your head, trying to think of either someone else that has some kind of connection to them or some way that you can anchor that person's information enough in your brain so that you'll remember them next time. Is that what you're doing? That's what it looked like what you're doing.
It is what I'm doing. So we all have a Rolodex in our brain, right? People we know, people somebody says I'm from Tennessee. I'm thinking of all the people I know that live in Tennessee and which airport would I fly into if I'm coming to see you? And then I narrow down the Rolodex to the few people that live towards Nashville rather than Memphis or whatever. Yeah, there's some sort of going. Well, let me say this in my defense, and not that I'm being defensive, but where there's smoke, there's fire. So
No, but that's so good of you. Why don't I mean, most of us, I don't want to lump everybody together, but do you know, Ty's asked me a couple times, he'll say, I'll say something about somebody that sent me something or something. He'll say, where are they from? And I never paid attention to where they were from because I never go to their house. I don't deal with it. I only know them from online, so I never took the time. But that is one of the things that you always seem
Well,
to
that's interesting, Lisa, because you do know their address because you send them send out cards all the time.
right.
And you know, you say, where are they from? You're from where? So you go, yes, that's right. How did
I
you
make a
know?
joke about it, right?
Where are you from? Yes, that's right. And they look at you like,
Usually, I'm more apt to know something else about a person rather
yeah,
than where they live, I think.
yeah.
Oh, so I'm just doing my anchor different. Is that it?
Well,
Usually, it's if I've seen him before. That I can tell him where I saw him before or something like that. But tell the whole thing about you started doing that because of the Bob Berg when you saw him. You know what I mean? Do the trick he does with the names.
oh, well, yeah. When I first saw Bob Berg, you know, I didn't know who he was except his little picture on the back of Endless Referrals. And I was going to see Bob Berg, but there's a room of 250 or 300 people, and we're all drinking coffee and nibbling on a crumpet or something, waiting to be called to our seats and for the program to start. And he was walking around and, you know, shaking hands and how are you? And then when we took to our seats and he was introduced and came out on stage, he says, if I just met you for the very first time today, please stand. And so, you know, 50 people stand up in the room.
And
And
it's random. You weren't all sitting together. You didn't get introduced in the order that he. None of
no,
it.
yeah,
It was
this is
all
all
random.
random. We were in a networking big in the back of the room. Then we get
Yeah.
called in to sit, and we're in all different places. And he has everybody stand and he says, and what amazed me was it wasn't just first names. Like I'm pretty good with remembering first names, but last names, he's just so incredible. He said, Mr. Smith, have a seat. Miss Duchesne, have a seat.
And
Pleasure
he
to
said
meet
it
you.
right too.
I
You said he
know.
said it right too.
I
Yeah.
know. It's amazing. And then the next day I had the opportunity to see him. He was in another town. He was the first day I met him was in Virginia. Then I met him in Maryland, but it was even closer to where I lived at the time. So I went and saw him a second time. And of course I couldn't be one of the people standing up because I didn't just meet him that day, but he came up to me in the little networking before it started, Miss Duchesne, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I saw him do it all over again, except I wasn't one of the standing ones. And amazing, just amazing. And you know,
So if each of us even had a little bit of the luck with that, maybe that's what we should shoot for is just a little bit of it.
well, and it's not luck. He had a program. I have the book, it's right over there, about how to remember names. And I obviously have the book. I've read it a bunch of times. I think I'm better now than I was before, but I'm nothing like the master, Mr. Bob
Yeah.
Berg. But anyway, so the 2 ears and 1 mouth is a great thing. Ask really good questions, not, you know, what is it that you do, but, you know,
Oh, no,
how did you get
so we
started
get
doing?
taught. Yeah, we get taught in the Go Giver to ask questions, so they'll talk to us. So it
How
would
did you get
be,
started in your line of work?
what
What
do
do
you
you
like
like
about?
best about your line of
Yeah,
work? And then they go talking, talking. And like I said, they're never going to turn around and walk away or hang up on Zoom or hang up on the phone if
when
they're
they're
talking.
talking.
And
And
the more you ask questions, go ahead.
Scott said his insurance agent is like that. He said, my insurance agent, I have been with him for 33 years due to that. So see, that's awesome. And you can take notes, by the way. Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you no matter what customer relationship software you're using, I know Peg and I use send out cards. You can put notes in there. So you get name, address, phone, anniversary, birthday. And you know what I thought was awesome that you did is everyone that you talked to that you made that genuine connection with, you just went, I'm going to put you in my phone contacts now. Fill this out for me. And
And then
nobody
I'd look
blinked.
at it and I'd say, wait, you didn't put your birthday. I don't need the year, but if you could put your birthday, I might send you a card.
She did. She did. It was just so funny because I just, no objections at all.
So Debbie Britt says, Ted Lasso says, be curious, but not judgmental. That's so, so true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Who's the next one? It said, if you truly curious, the questions come naturally.
Debbie Britt.
Debbie Britt, awesome. Well, she's team Go Giver too, so we've all been trained well.
Right. We have been trained well.
And you know what's funny is I think people that are just doing networking or new at networking or hate networking, it's because they think it's about them at a networking event. When in reality, it's not about you or your cards or anything, because the odds of the other people finding out what you do that night are not good because they shouldn't be good. You should be collecting information about them to see what you can bring, because that's how it works really. Is the new thing that works is you bring value to the group, you bring value to the other people, and it comes back to you in the way of business.
Who can you introduce them to? Not
Said it's not about you, Cupcake, and that's hard hard to convey and train on too, I think, because people think I'm not getting my money's worth at this networking event if I don't slap my business card in 28 hands tonight, because they're not going to remember you. That's the problem.
right.
Right.
You need to make yourself memorable to them. Exactly. And it's
by bringing them business.
Right. Or making an introduction. It doesn't need to be becoming their customer or buying their product or their service or what. It's, finding out what's important to them. Let's say they're the coach of their kids' soccer team or whatever. They like antiques. And if you met them at a local chamber event, then you're local, and you see a newspaper ad 2 weeks later about antique show coming to town, you could tear that out of the newspaper and put the clipping in a little envelope with a note. This made me think of you. Let's have coffee soon, or something like that. Remember we met at the chamber. You mentioned the antiques. Here's the show.
Yeah. And these things seem old school, but that's what's working. And the more things go towards AI and automated and everything, the more this is going to work. I think we figured that out with the send out cards thing. I mean, my customers act like I come from another planet because every customer gets a thank you card every order, and they act like they've never heard of that. I appreciate everybody slacking with their thank you cards, because now when I send one, it makes me a stupida.
Right. If you're not truly curious, if you're truly curious, questions come naturally. That's from Debbie Britt. Gene Porter agrees. But it's all about, the difference between farming or hunting and fishing. Well, farming versus hunting or fishing. You go out and catch a fish for the day, you have dinner. You go out and you kill the bear, you might be able to fill the freezer with a bunch of meat. You plant the seeds in your garden. You have to reap the harvest. You have to water the seeds, nurture it, pull the weeds. But at the end, it's a beautiful, beautiful harvest. Whereas hunting and fishing is just a one and done kind of a operation. Whereas the other is really about nurturing those relationships that can grow and grow.
And I think you don't always know the person standing in front of you. I think the way this works is that you can't rely on measuring your return on investment.
Yeah, you can't.
No, you have to go into this thinking, what am I bringing for value? And can I tell just short? Well, I guess it's not that short, but the whole joining the Go Giver thing. When I was first talking to Bob Berg about something else, and he mentioned it, my first thought was, because I've been a Go Giver person as far as strategy for a while. So when I considered joining the Go Giver Success Alliance, my first thought wasn't, what am I going to get out of joining that? My first thought was, oh dear Lord, these people are really performers. What am I bringing? I better be bringing something. I better have some value I'm bringing, because if I'm not bringing value, I'm going to look like an idiot.
Well, and then
'Cause
you
I've
brought
already been
Jeff
bringing value.
West's first co-authorship, which was a goal of his he hadn't implemented. And he had been an author with his own book, but he had a goal to collaborate with another co-author. You ended up being that first co-author. And now that's a model. The marketing that you set in place around your Said the Lady with the Blue Hair book is now the model that he, Jeff, and Bob are utilizing so many of those assets in their marketing for streetwise to saleswise.
No, I've got both of mine here too. And you know what's funny? In case you all are wondering, I jumped into that project with Jeff because I wanted to work with him. The quality, I mean, he ran Aflac for Texas for decades. Where would I have access to a man as accomplished as him? So I wanted to work with him, and I said yes immediately. But did I have, what's that? Oh, yes.
Your book is going to get mentioned every time he publishes a book.
I know. I know. I'm glad I was the first one, because now everything he does after, right? But I think
You said yes because the
I said
ability to work with that caliber of person.
right, but I don't think that I wasn't sitting here saying, I was panicking. I'm like, am I going to be able to hold up my end of this deal? Is he going to want to work with me? And of course, poor Jeff had to put up with so much with me because, right, I was so far out of my comfort zone. Oh, I cried on that. I cried so much it was ridiculous. I'm sure he was thinking, boy, if every co-authorship ends up like this, I'm in trouble. He's going to need therapy. Oh, but you know what? I muscled through it and did what I needed to do, and I didn't know what I was doing. As far as the book marketing, I made all that up, and luckily, I pulled from my own business experience. And going forward, the stuff that I did different there, I used again in other ways. So, like the endorsement graphics, which that's his favorite thing, Jeff's thing. We did some for Streetwise too. I used those doing the play too. So I was able to learn something and use it again in a different way.
Well, you have such a great marketing mind, Lisa. And,
Oh, thank you.
you know, what I know there were tears along the way. He was a good teacher in the end. He's probably glad that he got that co-author out of the way so we could move on to better in the future. But
well, I'm sure Bob didn't cry.
well,
Yeah.
but what you brought to the table, I'm sure he would say, wouldn't you, Jeff? I'm sure he would say it was well worth it in the long run. And look at the following you've built. And like that woman a year ago tracking you down at the airport at 2 a.m. I'd forgotten it was 2 a.m. in Denver.
Yeah,
but,
it was hilarious.
You know, the following you have here, the following you have in your Avon business,
well, I'm still building it, right?
Send out cards, all of that is planting seeds along the way that you never know where they go. Can I tell another funny story about Denver?
Please.
So Noelle, who was one of the big reasons why you and Scott were there, and you invited me, and she met me, and we had a one-to-one, and she said, you need to meet this person, and this person. So I met all three of them, but one of them said, you're from Maryland, right? And I said, I am. And she said, we used to have this thing with Achieve called Connect and Collaborate, and two gentlemen ran it. And one of the gentlemen changed businesses and is too occupied in his new job to do it. The other guy wants to continue doing it, but he doesn't want to do it by himself. I wonder if you'd want to do it. And I said, well, who are these two guys? Just by chance, I might know one or the other or both of them. I don't know. I've lived in Maryland all my life, all kinds of different parts of Maryland. But anyway, she said the name, and I went, oh my God, He does promotional products. His logo
What are
is
you
this color.
doing?
Sometimes he wears a jumpsuit in that color. And she goes, oh my God, you really do know him. And I'm like,
You
yeah.
know everybody. You know everybody.
Well, it's like that 2 or 3 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon,
Kevin
6
Bacon.
degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon. It's
Would
2
be
or
2 or
3 to
3
me.
degrees of separation from Peg Duchesne. You're like the Kevin Bacon of the Go-Givers, right?
Anyway, so I did know him, and I promised her I would call him on Monday. So Monday I called and left a voicemail. Said, I don't know if your ears were burning over the weekend, but I was in Denver and people were talking about you, and I was one of them. And we texted back and forth and agreed to talk on Tuesday. And then we talked, and he was like, oh my God, this would be wonderful. I would love to work with you. And I'm like, whoa, I need to get some more information. What's it going to go? So anyway, we've been back and forth on 3 calls. Then the woman got involved with him and me, and we've exchanged messages. He and I are talking again tomorrow. So it's conceivable that we may bring that program back to Maryland with me working with that gentleman who I knew already. And he plans to go to Denver for the Next Achieve event in June. So, anyway.
Well, that's awesome. And I really like that group because there's a lot of people, they're all on the ball. And you can get stuff done there. And big shout out to Scott and you actually, because I was behind on my 262 women's book project from the Canada group, and I needed that headshot and I was not going to do it. And you and Scott talked me in. And I had the headshot done. It came out good. And it's like, oh.
Well, and speaking of headshots, the headshot you used on the graphic for this show tonight was the unveiling of my new headshots that were taken in Denver. And
I liked all 3, by the way. The only reason I used that one is because it fit the graphic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there's something about going like this that I like. I don't know why. But out of the 3 years ago, my headshot, it's the one with head on hands, I call it. But anyway, I sent them I'm going to be on a magazine cover, thanks to Lisa, in March. And I sent those same 3 headshots to.
Oh, awesome. And actually, that's not thanks to me, really, because they wouldn't put you on there if you weren't awesome.
But I wouldn't have known him if it had not been for you.
Well, that's, because we all network and connect. That's the thing. So,
right. So thank you.
Yay.
And when it gets closer to March, I'm sure you'll put the link to the magazine in this show.
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, as soon as you have the graphic, I want to spread it all over Utopia.
Well, now that I sent him the headshot, he should have the graphic by next week. Oh, and then I'm writing the draft of my article by Saturday night.
So everybody listen, here's one last tip and we'll go because it's already 7:30.
Flies.
Right. Don't think that you have to be a certain level of achievement to start writing articles for the magazine we're talking about is the network marketing magazine, which many of you are in direct sales, which are usually network marketing companies as well. The reason it's important, and I know Scott's going to write it in the comments, the reason it's important to write articles and do speaking and go to events is because that's rule number 1. You could write the success rule. You can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do. I was writing for Upline magazine way back in the day. I wrote for a bunch for George too. And another thing he did, we've done a bunch of different stuff over the years, but it's always great. Don't think you have to wait till you think you're an expert, because I don't think I'm an expert. I still write the articles.
So Lisa, I was I was facilitating I have a mastermind group that meets twice a month. It's called the M3, Messaging and Marketing Mastermind, M3. Ooh. And today was the day, and we're having a conversation, and I said, Sherry, do you have a wood stove in your house? Because I've been to her house before, and I was pretty sure she didn't. She said, yeah, I did. And I said, do you and Wayne open the wood stove and say, give us some heat, we'll give you some wood next week? And she looked at me like this. I mean, like a puppy dog. We're like, and I said, yeah, that's not how the wood stove works, is it? You have to put the wood in, you have to put paper around it, you have to light the fire, and then you get the heat. You have to do the work before you get the heat. You have to make an investment before you. And I said, that's in the book called, and I was bringing it up because I was saying, said the lady with the blue hair, and I was going to co-host tonight and invited them to come join. And one of them is in direct sales. So I'm disappointed they're not here, but they'll get the replay from me later. Anyway, I said this great book, and they're like, blue hair. And I said, it's a fabulous book, a great story, all about, a sudden life change that has you taking action you hadn't planned on, but how you can be successful at it. And then I ended up telling 2 more rules, the success rule, and also
the mini skirt rule.
And I even said in Jeff's absence, I know he's going to watch the replay. In Jeff's absence, I said, this is Lisa's co-author's favorite rule, and it's really a good one.
We were talking about it in Denver because one of the speakers didn't know the rule.
I don't think very many of those speakers knew the rule.
Okay, the mini skirt rule is?
The mini skirt rule is keep your presentation or your article short enough to hold the attention and long enough to cover the goods. I read your book. I listened to it 3 times. I read through it. I highlighted it. I teach the 7 rules.
What is the reason? He says, I am the reason that rule is in there. He's absolutely correct. I was talking over because Jeff asked me for, I think it was, he said between 7 and 10 or something like that. And I had 6 rules. And then I said, you think, I don't know about telling him. And I read him this one, and Scott says, oh God, you got to tell him that one. So that's what I did. And of course, Jeff loved that one. He was laughing.
And we have at least one rule ready for the sequel, right?
Which one? Oh, the Pink Floyd marketing
rule. Put another brick in the wall.
The Pink Floyd marketing rule, another brick in the wall. Yeah. Well, we better get going. The baggage claim rule. Right. That's not.
Thank you, Jeff, for not being here. Thank you, Lisa, for choosing me as your co-host. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you, everyone who joined us.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. And continue to check the group and post things in there, especially squirrel memes for Jeff, because we want to make sure he gets his fill of squirrel memes. Okay.
Conway.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. Love you all.
Mwah.